I never told my mom I heard what she said that night in the kitchen because when she thought I was asleep, she whispered, "I wish he'd never been born," and I've been trying to unhear it ever since, but every time she hugs me now, I wonder if she means it or if she's just trying to undo what can't be taken back. It was a Tuesday in late October. I only remember that because I had worn a hoodie to school for the first time that fall. My backpack was heavier than usual because I had brought home the science project I forgot to finish over the weekend. It was one of those days where nothing felt urgent, but everything felt off. My sister, Claire, was 15 then. She made us dinner that night, frozen chicken nuggets and canned corn. We ate at the kitchen table without saying much. She had her earbuds in, half listening to some playlist while scrolling her phone. I was quiet. I always was. Mom got home after 9. She worked 2 jobs then. During the day she was a receptionist at a dental office. At night she cleaned offices in a building across town. She'd come in smelling like chemicals and hand sanitizer. That night she kissed Claire's forehead and ruffled my hair before heading to her room. She didn't eat dinner. She almost never did on work nights. I fell asleep on the living room couch watching a rerun of some baking competition show. Claire had gone to her room. The house got dark except for that soft yellow glow from the kitchen light, the one over the stove we always left on, like a fake version of comfort. I woke up because I had to pee. That's the part that sticks with me, the small, stupid reason. My foot had gone numb under me, and I had that fuzzy, uncomfortable feeling in my stomach. So I got up. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I took a few steps and stopped when I heard my mom's voice. She was standing in the kitchen, talking low, almost like she was trying not to be heard. She wasn't on the phone. She was just speaking, like saying things to the walls or maybe to herself. I don't know anymore, she said. I froze. I was behind the hallway wall, right before the kitchen entrance. She had her back to me. She was holding a glass. There was a bottle of red wine on the counter. She didn't drink often, but sometimes, especially after long days. She'd pour one glass and drink it slowly like it hurt to hold. She exhaled through her nose and looked down. I wish he'd never been born. That's what she said. She wasn't crying. She didn't sound angry. Just tired. Like all the weight she'd been carrying finally slipped out through her mouth. She said it like a confession. Quiet. Simple. Real. I love him, but God, it's just so hard. It's always something with him. He never listens. He never gets it. I tell him things and it's like they go right through him. And then I feel like the bad guy all the time. Like I'm failing. Like I'm broken. Like maybe I made a mistake. She paused, swallowed, looked at the ceiling. And I know that makes me a terrible person. I know that. But sometimes I wish he hadn't happened. I just do. I didn't move. I barely breathed. I felt like my skin didn't fit right. Like I was floating outside myself, watching some other boy hear this thing he was never supposed to hear. Eventually, she sighed and turned off the light. I slid back down the hall before she saw me and ducked into my room. I sat on the floor for a while before climbing into bed. My heart was beating weirdly fast, but I didn't cry. I just kept thinking maybe she didn't mean it. Maybe she was just tired. Maybe she was talking about something else. But she said he. She said never been born. And I knew. The next morning I woke up early. She was already in the kitchen. She'd made blueberry pancakes, the kind I always begged for. She smiled at me like nothing had happened. Said, "Morning, baby," and asked if I wanted milk or juice. I looked at her and all I could think was she doesn't know I heard. So I said juice. I smiled. I ate the pancakes. And I never brought it up. After that morning, things went on like usual. Or at least they looked like they did. I didn't say anything to Claire. I didn't know how to. We weren't close in that way. She was already pulling away from home, always half-packed to be somewhere else. If I had told her what I heard, she probably would have just shrugged and said something like, "Mom's always tired. Don't take it personally." But it felt personal. Deeply, quietly personal. School didn't change. My friends didn't notice anything. My teachers didn't either. I kept doing okay, never great, just okay. But at home, I started doing little things differently. Like I started rinsing my plate more carefully, wiping down the counter after I made a mess, making sure my backpack wasn't left in the middle of the living room. It wasn't about being helpful. Not really. I just didn't want to give her more reasons to regret me. She'd still hug me. Still smile. Still tell me she loved me when she left for work. But every time she did, I found myself flinching a little inside. Not because I didn't want it, but because I didn't know if it was real. or if she was just playing the part. Just saying the things moms are supposed to say. Once, maybe 3 weeks after that night, I came home with a math test I'd failed. I tried to hide it, but she found it crumpled in my backpack. She held the paper up at the kitchen table and said, "You didn't even try, did you?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She tossed the paper onto the counter like it burned. "I work 2 jobs," she said, quieter now. "I come home exhausted, and this is what I get? You can't even do one thing right?" I looked at the floor. My face was hot. My hands were shaking, but I tried to keep them still. She sighed and sat down hard in a chair, rubbed her eyes. "Why do I even bother?" she mumbled. And that did it. It wasn't just that one sentence. It was the tone. It was the fact that it sounded exactly like the voice I'd heard that night in the kitchen. Flat, defeated. Like she was done with me, and just hadn't figured out how to say it to my face yet. I didn't talk to her the rest of the evening. I stayed in my room. I started avoiding her more after that, keeping my answers short, pretending to be busy when she came home, staying later at school when I could. She didn't ask why. I think she was relieved. By the time I turned 15, we barely talked unless it was necessary. She blamed it on teen attitude, told people I was just going through a phase. But really, I was building a wall, one brick at a time, trying to protect myself from a sentence I could never unhear. Even on my 18th birthday, when she hugged me tight and said, "I'm so proud of the man you're becoming," all I could think was, "Do you still wish I hadn't been born?" She never said it again. At least, not where I could hear. But I listened for it. Every time she sighed. Every time she looked at me with tired eyes. Every time she said, "I love you," with that kind of forced smile, like she was checking a box she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. By the time I moved out at 19, we were polite. Friendly. But not close. Not real. I never told her I remembered that night. I never asked her if she meant it. Because I was afraid she'd say yes. It wasn't until I moved out that I started to understand how deep it had gotten into me. I got a job at a car rental place out by the highway. It was boring work. Long shifts, weird customers. But it paid enough to keep me in a studio apartment with water-stained walls and a fridge that made knocking noises at night. I didn't mind. I liked being alone. At least that's what I told people. But even in that little apartment, I heard her voice sometimes. Not out loud, just in my head. I wish he'd never been born. Came back when things went wrong. When I broke a dish. When I overdrafted my account. When I got sick and had to call in. That sentence would slide back in like an old splinter that never got pulled out all the way. I didn't date much. Didn't really let anyone in. Every time someone got too close, I'd push them away. I didn't even realize I was doing it until one girl, Alyssa, called me out. "You never talk about your mom," she said one night after dinner. I shrugged. Not much to say. She looked at me for a second. "That's not true. You just don't want to say it." She was right, but I didn't answer. 2 weeks later, I stopped texting her back. Eventually, Claire got married. I went to the wedding, sat near the back during the ceremony and didn't say much. Mom was there, of course, smiling big, hugging everyone, laughing a little too loudly. She wore this blue dress that I'd never seen before. She looked happy. I didn't know if it was real. After the reception, she found me standing outside near the parking lot. She hugged me, held on longer than I expected. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, just tired." She looked at me for a second. Her eyes softened. "You've been quiet lately." I almost laughed. "Lately?" She smiled a little like she didn't know whether it was a joke or not. "I'm proud of you," she said, just like she had on my birthday years before. I wanted to ask, why? I wanted to ask if she remembered that night, if she ever thought about it. But the words didn't come. And then she was gone, walking back into the hall where the music was too loud and everyone was pretending to be fine. A few months after that, she called me late at night. She was crying. "Claire told me you've been distant," she said. Did I do something wrong? I feel like I lost you somewhere and I don't know when." My throat tightened. My first instinct was to lie. To say, "No, everything's fine." But I didn't. Not completely. "I think we just grew apart," I said. "That's not it," she whispered. "You stopped looking me in the eye when you were 12. That's when I knew." She remembered something. I stayed quiet. My palms were sweating. I always wondered if you heard me, she said. I still said nothing. I was drunk, she said. Not that it matters. But I was. I was exhausted and scared, and I didn't mean it, not really. I was just hurting. I closed my eyes. Then she said, but if you did hear me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, baby. There was a long pause. I never stopped loving you, she added, her voice breaking. Never. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Not because I didn't believe her, but because I still didn't know if I believed it was ever untrue. I told her I forgave her, but the truth is, I don't know if I ever really did. I still think about that night, about how quiet her voice was, how certain it sounded. And now, even when she tells me she loves me, part of me stands off to the side, watching, wondering if she's just trying to patch a hole she didn't think I'd ever notice. I don't say any of this out loud. I just hug her back, nod when I'm supposed to, and keep it all buried. Because the truth is, some words don't go away. They just wait,